This is the new Summon Reapers of Revenants build, but the Chaos version instead. So in my previous video, I actually did the Doriani's prototype version, where we are going to use Doriani's prototype to inflict negative 200 lightning resistance to nearby enemies. So once we convert our Reapers to all lightning damage, then that would boost our minion DPS through the roof, okay? But that build is a little bit too expensive, so I have thought of a more quote-unquote budget version. So this is the Chaos variant of it, and I'm going to approach this with a little bit of a twist. I'm actually using a champion, and the reason why I'm using a champion is because of Fortify. So that is my idea behind it. And since I'm using Fortify, I'm going to be using the Rick Wall's Hunt chest, because you can see on the mods, right, that the minions actually have a 1% chance to deal double damage per fortification. And altogether, I have 26 fortification stacks over here. So that will give a lot of damage to the minion. And since we are starved of damage, right, then this is definitely going to help. So how are we going to achieve full chaos conversion? Because technically minions do physical damage, so how do we convert all of it to chaos? So we are going to use the Triad Grip Gloves again, but this time we are going to be using all 4 white sockets, because if you can see in the mods, right, if you have 4 white sockets, right, then the minions will convert all their 100% of their physical damage to chaos. Alright, so that's how we're going to do chaos damage. And on top of that, I'm going to enable our Reapers to do poison damage, because poison damage is also a type of chaos damage. So how do we enable our Reapers to do poison damage? So what we are going to do is we're going to go to the tree. We are going to be equipping the Amanamu's Gaze. So Amanamu's Gaze causes our minions to have 6% damage over time multiplier per Ghastly Eye Jewel. And we're going to use the Ghastly Eye Jewel like this to give our minions 15% chance to poison on hit. So I will have 1 here, I will have 1 here, I will have another 1 here. So that will be 3 of them, 4 of them, and I think I have 1 more, 5 of them here, and then I will have 6 lah. So I will have 6. So total, if it's 6, right, 6 times 15 will be 90%. So I will actually have a 90% chance to poison enemies on hit. Preferably, I want to do 100%, but unfortunately, I'm only level 95. So maybe if I'm level 100, right, maybe I'll try to path towards this socket over here to get a full 100% poison to hit chance. Okay, so let's go on and look at my other gear. So what else I did, right? I used this weapon, which is the Severed in Sleep Cutlass Sword. So this sword, right, if you read the mods, allows my minions to have a 60% chance to inflict Wither on hit, and it has 75% chance to gain Unholy Might for 4 seconds. I don't think we need the Unholy Might because we are already converting 100% of our physical damage to chaos. So the Foulborn mod might not be necessary. Maybe I'll look at another version. I can also look at the United in Dream version of this cutlass, because the United in Dream version of the cutlass has a 60% inbuilt chance to poison. So maybe that way I will not need to use so many Ghastly Eye Jewels. Alright, so what else do I use in my gear? I'm going to be using, this is I think the most expensive part of the build, which is the bone rings. So I have 2 bone rings here. This one gave me medium damage, movement speed, attack speed. This one gives me elemental resistance to my minions and attack speed and damage. Okay, so these two are arguably the most expensive part of the gear. Okay, then we have our replica Dragon's Fang. This is just going to give us the +4 levels to all our summon Reaper gems. And then we're going to use the Sphalin, and this is going to give us a lot of survivability. And since we are using Sphalin, right, we are going to be pathing towards some of the block nodes. So I took Sentry over here. I took As the Mountain over here, and then I pathed towards Tetsudo over here to give us some block chance. And then I'm also using, if I'm not wrong, yeah, Temper Shield. So this is going to give us maximum block chances and also maximum chances to block spell damage. So that will give us a lot of effective HP. And lastly, on our defenses, we are still a life-based build, so we generally have more HP than my previous version. But we need to solve our elemental resistances. And how we do that is by using the Mage Blood. So luckily this league, the Mage Blood is a quote-unquote budget belt. So it is quite readily available. So you're going to buy the Mage Blood because you're going to use the Sapphire Flask, the Ruby Flask, Topaz Flask, and the Bismuth Flask. And this will help to solve all your elemental resistance problems. And lastly, right, when we use the champion Ascendancy, if you take a look at first to strike, last to fall, we are not going to use the first line, which intimidate our enemies because we are not hitting anything. We actually want the adrenaline line because the adrenaline actually gives us 10% additional physical damage reduction, and it gives us a recover 25% of life when we gain adrenaline. So this is our get out of jail free card. We also have inspirational, which we are not using any banners, but we get the 30% increase effect of non-curse auras. And we're using quite a lot of auras actually. We are actually using the Temper Shield, we are using Haze, we are using Vitality, we are using Clarity, we are using Enduring Cry, but Enduring Cry is not an aura. But all of this will be increased in its effects due to the inspirational keystone from the champion Ascendancy. Then how about my last remaining Ascendancy point? The last one, I actually used the new Ascendancy from the what's it called? Pharaoh bloodline. So I'm using Primal Roar. So Primal Roar actually increases our minion damage by 80% every time we War Cry. So we need to find some way to do our War Cry. So I have a Auto Exertion, which actually just causes our War Cry to trigger automatically and instantly. So there's no clunkiness, and I'm going to pair it with Enduring Cry. Unfortunately, with the Auto Exertion, there is no effects of the Enduring Cry, so that means we are not going to get any endurance charges. But this is just to trigger a War Cry, which will then give our minions a 80% increase in damage. We need to spend a little bit of money, unfortunately. We have a Enlighten over here, and then we have an Enlighten over here. And if you were to ask why are we using Clarity and why are we using Vitality, right? That is because I'm actually using a Watcher's Eye that looks like this. So with Haste, I have phasing, so I can just go through mobs, right? I don't get blocked by them. I also have Vitality, which gives us regeneration of life, so that will help. And because this build costs a lot of mana, because I'm no longer using the transfusion or the new life tap, right, of this league, so I will need the non-channeling skills have -9 to total mana cost, along with the minus mana cost on my both rings here, just to be able to cast my Bone Offering. Yes, and this time I am using Bone Offering. What else do I have? I actually have a very good jewel over here. This is a Elegant Hubris. This Elegant Hubris I bought off trade. You can take a note of the number 106840. So this gives us a lot of bonuses around this area. So let me take you through it. We're going to have 80% increase in minion life. We have mana reservation efficiency, which we needed to squeeze in all our auras. We also have minion damage over here, minion life over here, and I believe there's one more. Yeah, there's another minion life over here, but I don't have enough points to put there. And I think if you're Staff of Chaos Resistance, I think this one can also give you, okay, there's 50 fire resistance over here. Oh, here. There is actually 37 to chaos resistance over here. So that will help to increase your defenses even further. So this build is actually pretty tanky. It's not as squishy as the maxed out damage version of my Summon Reaper build. What else? Yeah, correct. So this is the last thing I believe. So for this build, I'm still using the same Thread of Hope with the Massive Ring. So this is just too efficient of a jewel to give up. So this will let us take Purity of Flesh, our Spiritual Command. It will take us to Retribution, Sanctity, Combat Stamina, Sanctuary for blocked, and then more life as well. Okay. And I also think I forgot to mention the cluster jewels that I am using. So the cluster jewels that I'm using is I have 2 large cluster instead of the 3 large cluster from my previous build. So I have 1 12 passive over here. This gives me attributes and minion attack speed and of course more minion damage. And I have another one over here. So this is also going to give me +4 to all attributes, life and attack speed. So the attribute bar is actually very important because that will help us, equip all the jewels that you see, right, in the gear over here. Okay, so that concludes the Chaos version of the Summon Reapers of Revenants build. Nowhere near the 130 million DPS that we saw previously, and that build can do Uber bosses really quickly. But for this one, we have a respectable about maybe close to 20 million, maybe 17 to 18 million according to POB. So it is okay, but we have made it up with a lot of survivability. So this is definitely less paper than my previous build. So hopefully you guys like it. This is probably my last build of the season. Now I really like Summon Reapers. So maybe in the future, if there's new tech or if you guys have new tech to introduce to me, right? Or if my tree that you see, my Atlas tree is very inefficient, please sound off in the comments below. But that's it guys. Thanks for listening and have a nice day.